is up, Internet? My name is Brando, and welcome to episode 7 of the Otaku Remix podcast. Joining me today, again, because we did it on episode 5, a week ago.
The sports one, yeah.
Yeah, I had you in for sports anime when I had you, and we streamed it on Mez's podcast.
The highly controversial sports episode.
I have my buddy Christopher House in-house. House, man. How you doing, House?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. It's good to see you, boss. Always a pleasure to have you host me. I host you on this podcast.
Right. It's weird, yeah, because I'm hosting Brando for him to host me on his podcast. It's very strange.
It's a
unique situation.
There's a hostception happening.
But we have some important business to get down to here.
We do, yes. If you couldn't tell from the title, we were talking about the new Dragon Ball Super film. Me and House had the chance to go check it out a couple days ago, this past week. Dragon Ball Super Broly. You got to see the Broly remake film.
Broccoli himself.
Yes, Broly, sir. It was a wonderful, interesting exchange of events. Getting there itself was an odyssey.
Man, we don't even have enough time to go. We don't have enough time. All of this,
it was an odyssey just getting to the theater, but it was still a fun time. We got a chance to see it with a couple other buddies, Josh and Co. Did you have heavy expectations? I know we talked about it. It was just in passing. You told me that you wanted to see the film, and I already had sort of made plans to see it, and then that's kind of how we ended up going to see it.
Yeah.
So very casual. But did you have high expectations for this film?
So I'd only seen from Twitter a couple of the advertised high animation shots, and I was like, this is looking great. Mm-hmm. And also I don't know. I'm not a huge Dragon Ball fan. Let's start this off before everybody starts. Being yo. But
this guy doesn't know shit.
This guy, because I don't
Can he even do the fusion dance?
I can. They couldn't, but I can. But it's a show that I've always enjoyed for its themes and its characters.
Yeah.
From kind of a distance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to go in because I wanted to see if they actually could step up their game and make a decently written story.
Yeah.
I know they can animate. Nobody's doubting that.
Yeah.
And I know they're gonna. I didn't know what to expect, so that's why I was going in. I was like, hey, let's see if they got their shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, they didn't.
Yeah, we had not an incredible distaste, but I mean, we'll get into it. The plot has its issues. I had expectations that when I'd seen trailers for the film. I was excited. I thought the animation looked really crisp. In fact, we'll get into that obviously later, but the animation's probably the best it's ever been for any Dragon Ball anything. But I saw it. I remember the moment. I was with my buddies Ricky and Wayne, and we were in a Chick-fil-A drive-thru. The line was long as shit, so we were just killing time watching videos. And we got the chance to see the Broly trailer, and it was the one where you got to see Gogeta was confirmed, and there was this extremely well animated sequence at the end of the trailer that we're all like, we gotta go, we gotta see this is hype as shit. And I've kind of passed my Dragon Ball hype. My interest in Dragon Ball has definitely decelerated from a long time ago. That climax is past. I'm not as
it's in a bit of a valley right now.
Yeah. I'm not nearly as interested as I used to be, but I thought it would be a fun chance to see if they could make a really concise, really interesting film, because I really didn't like the two recent films that they made for Dragon Ball Super, the Beerus and the revival of F movie. I thought they were dumb. No offense, they're fun movies to watch from a schlocky kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
They're popcorn films.
That's a popcorn flick. Yeah, just something where I can kind of turn my brain off and just kind of enjoy it from a visual standpoint. But there are much better films that I could be watching during that period of time that I'd probably rather would be. And so I thought that Broly would be that. With a combination of really good animation, but it's a mixed experience, high highs and low lows. So
I think we can kind of get into that right from there. So if you have not seen Broly, I don't think we even need to do many spoilers. There's not much to spoil about this movie. There's not much to spoil.
The character is well known.
We'll try to be light about it, but if you are a diehard fan and you have not seen this and you don't want to hear us spoil something by accident, definitely go see it. Pause this, go see it, come on back. Because what I think we're going to talk about is the kind of reason why it works as a Dragon Ball fan, as a movie for the fans, and not as a film on its own.
That would be a good thesis for this movie.
It does not stand on its own two legs. Despite how thick Broly's legs are.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, everything about that fucking character is thick. But
He's a husky motherfucker.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But so to start off, the movie opens with half an hour of exposition.
Yeah, that was not expected.
Scenes.
I turned to you and I was like, "This is some long ass prologue,
yeah.
bro."
I'm surprised you were able to turn. You were nearly falling asleep.
That was in the second half of the film.
Oh, second half.
And we're gonna talk about
we're gonna get
that
there.
situation as well. But yeah, that was a lot of interesting setup because I knew that they were looking to flesh out the character of Broly more. And it looked like that way from just some of the small images that we saw in the trailers beforehand. But I was surprised. I mean, I feel like the stuff that they included about Vegeta's upbringing and Goku's upbringing was unnecessary.
Absolutely.
A lot of time wasted there. But I thought that as far as world building is concerned for Dragon Ball, which there isn't a whole lot left to do, I thought it was interesting to kind of have different glances at Planet Vegeta for a little bit. There was a little bit of novelty to it.
Yeah.
And I did like to see some of Broly's upbringing. But then it got a little bit not grotesque, but a little bit self-serving. A little bit.
Yeah. It felt like. So this is like basic film building. Basically, we're gonna start. The movie's only 104 or 101 minutes long.
Yeah, a little over 100 minutes. Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say that first half hour is just exposition. It is
heavy.
It is rehashing that Frieza's in charge of Planet Vegeta.
Yeah.
King Vegeta
is an asshole
who doesn't like how Broly's stronger than his son.
Yeah.
Although Broly is not a character at this point. Broly's just in a test tube. So we're still not meeting Broly.
Yeah.
We're just being told how big Dick G he is at the age of like -1.
Exactly. He's a threat.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so that's a rehash of the movie. He gets sent off planet, which is a retcon, but that's fine. Well, is it a retcon if it's not canon anyway?
No, I think isn't that what happened?
No, they got killed. He was killed on Vegeta. My apologies.
Yeah.
He was killed on Vegeta and or supposedly killed. We're not even gonna acknowledge the last film's canon storyline because it's not canon anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, so Broly gets sent off planet, and Paragus, his father, goes after Broly.
Mm-hmm.
The two narrowly escape Frieza's destruction of the planet because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, they rehash Bardock's story. Bardock appears in this movie that's not about him.
Yeah.
For a good, 15 minutes.
It was just a lot. Bardock's...
We meet Goku's mom.
Yeah.
And she has, a big emotional scene, despite being in the movie for, 5 minutes.
Yeah, very Superman-esque.
And it's but Goku's not the main character, by the way.
I know, yeah. And they cut to Vegeta learning about the planet's destruction. It was just a lot of hopping around with no real purpose. I felt like it was a really unfocused prologue.
Absolutely.
Where the only necessary information there was the bits about Broly, maybe his relationship with you can do the King Vegeta stuff because that's an important part of his character.
The setup.
Yeah, it's the setup for why he gets sent off the planet. That's all logistically important as to how we get Broly from fucking Vegeta to Valda, whatever the fucking junk ass planet he ends up on.
Vampa.
Yeah, Vampa. Thank you.
Yeah.
But the stuff about Vegeta as a youngster, Raditz as a youngster, Nappa as a youngster, Goku as a youngster, all that shit, I don't need that. It's very, it's for the fans, and I know
it got a lot of play. The audience was reacting well to it.
Yeah, and
our theater was the perfect film for that movie.
Our
movie was made for that audience.
Our theater was live. They were very interactive, and they laughed at questionable times.
We'll get to that one scene.
But yeah, structure-wise, prologue was a little bit long. But as it gets into the main story, I feel like it could have started right from the beach scene, or rather the Goku on the island hanging out with Vegeta and family.
So we cut fast forward to just after the Tournament of Power arc.
Yes.
So we cut after that. Vegeta and Goku are training. Goku mentions, I got to keep getting stronger because Jiren was so fucking strong, and I'm sure they'll just get even stronger.
Exactly.
Fine. That's fine. Character reestablished. We all know who this character is.
Yeah.
Cut to Bulma being told that she had 6 of the Dragon Balls that she had collected are missing, supposedly by Frieza's forces.
Yeah.
There's a clever little cut showing how Bulma wanted the Dragon Balls to make herself 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Hard cut to Frieza in a similar position as Bulma, saying how he wants the Dragon Balls to make himself 5 centimeters taller.
That was that's the best part of the film, probably. You and I were like,
Frieza is the best part about this movie.
yes.
And I didn't even know Frieza was going to be in this movie.
That was a dizzying cut. We both looked at each other.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, we were like, this is an interesting cut. I'm like, this is like, I don't know what they're trying to communicate. And then when the scene plays out, it suddenly becomes a brilliant.
It's a mirror. It's a mirror cut. That's what it is.
I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah. And so you needed to establish your villain Frieza, and they do it brilliantly.
Yeah,
they say, "Oh, I'm back. I'm building my army, sure, but I'm doing this for pettiness." And it's like, okay, fine.
They've undercut the menacing parts of Frieza with fun humor.
Yeah,
like with kind of a more lightheartedness.
She's much more like Rita, or he is much more like Rita Repulsa now.
Yeah.
Where he is just the eternal villain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who never actually fights.
Yeah, he's just kind of in the shadows, and he sends fucking Broly.
Yeah. So, hard cut from that to the planet Vampa, where Broly is now Goku's age.
Yeah, he's an older.
He's a strong warrior. Has survived on this desolate planet with his father for 30 odd years or something.
However long Dragon Ball's been.
And lo and behold, some of 2 Frieza Force members, one named Chile.
Is that her name?
That's her name, Chile or Chilai or something.
Chilai.
And she is the romantic opposite for Broly.
Essentially, yeah.
This is where we suddenly realize that Broly is our main character, which is a cool idea. We saw this in Infinity War, where Thanos, the main villain, was actually the main lead. Yeah. He was not a protagonist, but he was the film's focus. Yeah. And it worked spectacularly well.
Some people translate Thanos as like an anti-hero, and like, but
that can be a whole other podcast. On the basic level of film structure, though, you need a main character for the plot to revolve around.
Typically, yeah.
And that's what Broly is in this case. Everybody's actions ultimately coincide because of Broly.
And I feel like that's where the film hinges its weakest, but I'll let you
It's underdeveloped.
Yeah,
it's a cool concept, and that's where I think we're going to mention this a lot. Cool concept, underdeveloped.
Yeah, I like the villain, quote unquote villain, being a tenuous term, because he's not nefarious, but he is the main antagonist to the characters that we know as the heroes, Yeah. But as the protagonist, as like the character that the entire film's plot revolves around, he's rather flimsy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a whole lot of involvement, and he's so nebulous as a protagonist that it's to the point where it feels like we're more like witnesses to a sequence of events, and as opposed to like a structured story. Yeah. We're just here to watch how things play out, and as opposed to like we're following any form of linear storytelling.
Yeah, the biggest problem is that Broly, despite him being the center of the film because he takes up most of the screen time. Yeah. He has no desires. Mm-hmm. He has no wants. He has no goals.
He just wants to.
He just exists.
He exists.
He just exists for things to happen around, and every other character are the ones to give him character. Yeah. So Chilai is the one who
tries to make him seem more empathetic.
Yeah. Even though he's done nothing to do so.
He has the ear from his best friend.
Yeah, but it's a story only brought up by Chilai.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing if we saw that in advance and then it's brought up later. Mm-hmm. But no, what happens is they bring him. So Chilai and her cohort,
the older guy,
guy. We're not even gonna mention him because he's so third wheel. It hurts.
Yeah.
They bring him to Frieza because they've been told to gather forces, and Broly's a fucking strong motherfucker. Yeah. And Frieza goes, fantastic. Paragus, you want revenge on Vegeta, and you can control your son. I'm not even gonna talk about that because it's such a fucking whatever scene.
The dog collar.
The dog collar. But so that's our setup. That's our setup for our fight. Yeah. Frieza wants to hurt Vegeta and Goku. He finds Broly. Broly is controlled by Paragus, and Paragus also wants to fight Vegeta. That's our setup.
Yeah. So very similar to the original film, just with some slight changes, obviously, with more fleshed out Broly, with the introduction of Frieza, and that's about it.
Okay. Concept, fine.
Yeah.
But it's again in the execution where the writing just kind of falls apart. Characters start explaining people's motivations. The film does not convey any sense of motivation through images or through scenes. It just does it through people talking.
If you could give me, rather, and the listeners, 3 reasons, 3 of the weakest points in the plot structure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The intro is by far the weakest.
Okay.
I get it. The movie should be under 2 hours. You shouldn't be wasting half an hour exposition.
Yeah, it's literally a third of the film.
Yeah, you should be spending the time developing your main character.
Yeah.
Second weakest is the tonal shifts within the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And third, without a doubt, is honestly, the animation's great.
Yeah.
There's some moments where the 3D aspects of it are really obvious.
Yeah.
And it's very jarring.
I think that was an interesting part about it. So let's just skip over to animation for a little bit. I know we've been mostly focusing on plot.
Okay.
As a visual,
we'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely return to it. But as a visual experience, I feel like that's probably the strongest selling point for this film.
Oh yeah,
That's
what got me to go.
Exactly.
That's their main marketing goal.
Exactly. Yeah. Top to bottom, the 2D animation. I'm pretty sure it's just from the standard studio that they do it, like Toei or whatever, that does the normal Dragon Ball Super, does One Piece, does a lot of long running animated series. It's fantastic. That, whatever it's talent, budget, I don't know what have you, but the 2D animation was superb. The 3D animation, we were like, these are Dragon Ball fighters, fucking.
So I think
models.
they were using some cheater techniques, and when I say that, I don't mean to undercut it. It's hard work and it looks great.
Yeah.
I think even what we thought was 2D animation was still 3D animation. It was just between the lighting and everything.
Yeah.
Movement looks smooth and whatnot. The only time it was very noticeable was when there was a shift. The first fight starts in the Antarctic, so everything's bright white and all the lighting's done and such.
When they explode the Antarctic.
When they explode the Antarctic and it becomes a volcano wasteland, almost like Fighter Z.
Yeah.
Suddenly, lighting does not become consistent, and so you have these dark. Aside from the lava, which is a dark light, you also have the dark ground, but the characters are still lit
really bright,
really brightly. So the lighting looks off, and it makes the 3D models look very obvious.
Probably that contrast of colors, but I also think that
also the camera adjustments. They were moving the camera really fast, and they weren't shifting things enough.
Once Broly kind of assumes that standard. Not the standard, but the known legendary Super Saiyan look, and then Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue. That's when the fight took more of a heavy 3D approach.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but the camera angles were a lot more noticeable. The bold, you can see the bold lines
it was
on the 3D models. So it wasn't ugly, but it was extremely noticeable.
The contrast was it takes you out of it.
Yeah,
It makes you suddenly go what the hell?
Especially when everything.
For us as fighting game nerds, we go
exactly.
Shit, that's the fighters models.
That's
Fighter Z models.
That's what we were saying,
and watch it not be similar to how the JoJo 3D models are not the fighting game models, even though they look exactly like them.
Yeah. But the JoJo plans were well, but
yeah.
But
it's because they're not dispersed between the episode. The intro's 3D, the episode's 2D.
Yeah.
Whenever you need to make a scene consistent. Unless you want it to be jarring, which these fights were not meant to be jarring.
Yeah.
You need to keep a consistent art style.
I watch a lot of anime right now. Obviously. There's
life statement.
Life current status. But there's a lot of shows currently that interlude or spruce in 3D models where they can. For budget purposes, here and there. Sometimes I notice it, but I don't mind it. I'm like, okay, it's in a way that doesn't jar you from the scene or whatever. It's background characters just to kind of give a little bit more density to the crowd. Sometimes it's this or that. But if it's your protagonist and then they're in the middle of doing something, that can be really fucking jarring. Goblin Slayer is one of the ones that has an odd selection, not to deviate too far, but as an example of using 3D models. I know you haven't seen Goblin Slayer yet, but what they do is they have a 3D model made of the protagonist, and the only time they break it out is during just standard walking scenes.
That's so weird.
So it's during just really mundane scenery, and they'll just cut to that, the intense fight scenes and stuff like that, all 2D. Never ever utilized 3D as far as I remember, but like just for some of the shorter cuts, I feel like they just wanted to use that to save budget here or there, I suppose. But
I don't know.
But it really does take you out of those scenes.
I think we could even have a whole podcast about the 3D art styles.
Yeah, the implementation of 3D, we could definitely talk about
that. But yeah, not to get too off topic, we'll come back to Broly. Yeah, that kind of art style did hamper the fighting scenes a bit, which are the best part of the film.
Yeah.
It's sad to say.
Is it really?
I say it because they have so many concepts for this new Broly that are just underdeveloped, not given time, and so what happens is they rely solely on the fighting scenes, and the fighting, as over the top as it is, gets boring after a little while.
It is a little bit.
Not a little while. It gets boring. It gets long in the tooth.
That's kind of where my fatigue started to kick in.
And this is where you almost fell asleep.
Yeah, so we literally, right before the film, brought up the fact that we don't fall asleep too often in films. It's only happened to me.
I've only done it once.
Yeah, it only happened to me twice. It happened during the most recent, was a Josh Trank remake of Fantastic Four. And I can't remember the other film at the moment. But yeah, it only happened twice. And so
Suicide Squad.
Yes, thank you. The rewatching Suicide Squad with the Joker cut.
And I don't think anybody would hold those two against you.
Yeah. So during that second half of the film,
and this is mid-fight.
This is mid-fight. This is the middle of the bombastic, like 30-minute long
loud screen number 3 at some point. Oh my god, that's actually probably the fourth reason.
Yeah,
I like clever dialogue in my fights, especially if the fights are very long.
Yeah.
There is no.
That's the beauty of Marvel fighting. There's been there's been tons of videos to analyze the differences between the Marvel films from the DC films that have currently been released in the last 8 years or so. But that's one of the big things: character moments inside the action.
It's very important.
Yeah, and I think that's something that should be in all films that are successful. You see that in the new Mission Impossible films. You see that in the Kingsman films. Cute. Witty dialogue, in between that kind of alludes to elements of the character that aren't fully fleshed out even outside of the fight.
Yep.
And so then you go to a DC, or you go to see Batman versus Superman. It's a lot of just grunting, screaming, kind of just Kal-El, just screaming names of characters, directing, hinting to lore. But and Dragon Ball, of course, famous, synonymous with just bellowing screams, just fucking
I give the voice actors credit, man. It hurts. It hurts.
I think that Sean Shamel and Chris Sabat are masters of looking at Goku and Vegeta and finding unique ways to scream.
Absolutely. And Vic Mignogna.
Yeah, Vic Mignogna.
Broly does a very, very good job.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job.
But that's the problem, is that these guys are just these screaming powerhouses that have no interaction outside of fists between themselves. Even you take the fight against Frieza, and that one has a lot of dialogue in between it, and a lot of back and forth. Even the Cell fight, not so much Boo, because that's a whole other podcast. Even the Jiren fight, which is the most comparable one, I think, to this one. You still have some character moments because Goku's working with Frieza and Android 17.
And Jiren has his own code, his own fucking mantra, what he adheres to. He has a past. I mean, he's just as fleshed out as Broly, if not more. And I think that he's much more of a standout character, even though he's fairly one-dimensional.
Yeah,
he still at least is a focused character.
Yeah,
and
and unfortunately in this fight we don't get to learn anything new about Vegeta or Goku or Broly.
Yeah.
We just get to see them beat the ever-living Christ out of each other.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we learn who Broly is, but he's introduced as a character as a whole. Vegeta
right,
and Goku.
But I mean, during the fight, we don't learn anything.
Oh yeah, the fight alludes.
We just
to
learn that
new.
he adapts very quickly.
Yeah.
That's all we learn.
And the fight is just pure spectacle, and that's fine. It's that's what it's meant to be.
If it was 10 minutes long, that'd be great. It is, guys. It is half an hour long.
So
with a 5-minute intermission.
The reason I was fading was the longevity of the fight was quite long. And after a while, if I'm fully conscious, I feel like that would have been a really great experience. But I maybe didn't rest enough beforehand. I don't know what it was.
You don't need to excuse yourself. It's way too long.
Yeah, exactly. It's way too long. It's too long, and the imagery just doesn't.
They were running long, and they knew they were running long because they had to change the scenery, despite not changing location.
Yeah.
They had to change the scenery 2 times.
Yeah.
It starts in Antarctica, they blow up Antarctica, and it becomes a flaming wreck. And then they punch each other so hard that they become a space battle.
Oh yeah,
a la Gurren Lagann.
I forgot they went into like the.
You literally have Goku going, "What? Okay, guess we're doing this," and just it's so clear that because they didn't have any content, any character content or drama for the actual fight, that they just needed to make it more spectacle, and it just, I don't know, maybe I think it works on folks that are. As a popcorn movie, it works.
Yeah.
But as a film that I'm trying to enjoy for the characters and stuff, it don't.
Yeah, for you and me, I think that, and not to say that we're above anything like that, but
no.
for me and Chris's taste, I think in particular, we're probably a little bit not disenchanted, but don't find the same things that I guess. I don't want to phrase this in any way that sounds douchey, but like the typical Dragon Ball fan wants. Like, there's a certain amount of fanfare and action and sameness that they always look for, and I like, because it's tradition. It's like something that's
I wouldn't even put
timeless.
I wouldn't even put it on the fans, where it's just like, I think I would have enjoyed this movie more if I had a drink beforehand.
Yeah, that could have been it. Like, it could have just us loosened up.
Because I don't think either of us are big Dragon Ball fans.
Not huge, no.
And so the film, and I think we'll transition to like what the general question of what the hell is this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not a movie for anybody who's not a fan of Dragon Ball or has never seen Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Despite the amount of exposition they begin with to catch people up on.
Mm-hmm.
It is a movie for the fans.
Yeah.
And in that case, it works. And I've heard many people love this movie.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Josh loved it when we locked out. You know, your roommate, our cohort, and
and
everyone. I've had mixed reviews, like, from certain people that I know personally. However, the majority of what I'm seeing online, what I'm seeing on our anime, what I'm seeing from a lot of majority of people that I speak to about the film is that it's a resounding, like, excited, happy. This is a film that we thought is like the best Dragon Ball film ever, and I am inclined to agree. But it's a very low bar. It's an extremely low bar. So it's not exactly a win in my. It's more like, you know.
It's a step in the right direction, but I think they need to make these films self-contained. And I don't mean that Broly cannot exist outside this movie, or anything that happens in a movie should not affect canon. That's not it at all.
Yeah.
But I think the movie's about Broly. Win me over with Broly within this film. Make him have a little character arc, and end the movie in a satisfying way.
I think that would have been ideal. It's just that. Like, I think that would have been the smart thing to do with the concept of what they had, where
they had the concepts there.
Exactly. The emotional center was supposed to be Broly, but I think that's a little bit too, quote unquote, like, ambitious for the studio. Because at the end of the day,
I'm sorry. I'm sighing because I know you're right.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't. They don't want to take the time to execute on that. They just know that they just need to check off some boxes, innovate just enough. And then the rest will take care of itself. The fan servicing, they know exactly where they need to put the emphasis on to get the money that they're looking for. Yeah. You know, and that's exactly what this whole thing was. To give. Yeah. It's a win-win everywhere they go for the character. You know, introduce a fan favorite character except for us.
For these two schmucks.
Yeah, no, we're the cracks. We're the small cracks where the interest kind of fell through the thing. They're making a shitload of money. I think it's the fifth highest debut for an animated film.
They've made their money 10 times over.
Exactly, yeah. They'll be fine. It's great to see animated films like relevant.
God, I mean, we were just watching Redline the other day.
That movie,
beautiful, fantastic, decade-long movie. That was a financial train.
Yeah, that movie literally obliterated itself in the box office, and I can't emphasize enough how amazing Redline is. And that literally, I know we say it all the time, it's becoming catchphrase. That's a podcast later. We will, you and I do a Redline podcast.
Oh yeah, that's another podcast.
That's actually going to be another podcast.
Because that movie, I had never seen it before, but we saw, that was also unfortunate for the Broly movie. We saw Redline literally the day before.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Which is so simple. And gets everything right, and this movie is so fucking complicated and gets everything wrong.
It's so bizarre.
Not in the fan way, but yeah. So we end up coming back to this question of what is this movie? What is the Broly movie? It is a pitch for the new Broly.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier today. You were like, this is just a long elevator pitch, a long episode introducing the character. And I feel like that's...
Which Beerus's movie was as well. Beerus was not very well developed in his movie either.
All of the films have been that. They've been there to either introduce or reintroduce a character.
But I specifically point that one out because Beerus, over time... He's one of my favorite characters now in the show.
I love him, yeah.
But, like, when his movie came out, everybody said, what the hell is this? Yada, yada. It didn't help his design was great. Yeah. But, like, because he was underdeveloped in the movie. And so I think Josh pointed this out, and it made me appreciate the movie a bit more, or at least understand where people come from when they accept the movie for its faults. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I know they're just going to fill in the gaps later. And it's like...
That's a fair thing to say.
Fine.
Yeah.
And that makes it not for me, then. Because maybe I'll catch up later, but I'm not going to follow Dragon Ball.
No, I don't. It's not.
And that's why I keep emphasizing the point of the concepts are not bad.
Yeah.
The idea of Broly, being swayed to not be as animalistic, especially with the romantic opposite, is a neat idea. It's a classic idea and it's a basic one, but it's fine.
It's completely fine for Josh to say that he's complicit with the shortcomings of the film because he believes that the creators will give him the missing pieces later.
Yeah.
I am with you where I'm like, I paid money to see a film that was fucking complete.
Yeah. With
stories and characters that had the entirety of their arcs filled out.
Don't sell me the DLC episodes.
Exactly. That's what they're basically... He's saying, I'm okay with waiting for the rest of the content. And that's fine because a lot of people will enjoy the series a lot more than the film. But at the end of the day, the Beerus film was there just to introduce Beerus. And Beerus wasn't fleshed out till later. Reintroduced Frieza. This movie reintroduced Broly, or reintroduced them again,
and Bardock,
Bardock. Yeah, God. Okay. But
it did its job.
Yeah,
but as a film, I'm never gonna watch this movie again.
Yeah. There's no rewatch value besides for the.
I don't even know if fans have a reason to rewatch this movie.
For me, the only reason I would want to rewatch it is just the action, just to see. Because for me, I don't remember all of it.
But then I can just watch Redline again.
Exactly, and it'd be much more fun. But like the action in and of itself, I feel like I want to rewatch it for curiosity's sake. For me, one. My memory's hazy for a multitude of reasons. One, because it's a long-ass fight scene. Even if I was completely conscious, I don't think I would have been able to take it all in. But B, I really want to see what they were doing there. Like, I want to see if there's anything, if there's, some special moments in there that I maybe have overlooked. I did think that, the fight went through phases. Went through, like we were talking about. You could see the distinction in style for fighing for, Goku and Vegeta as they went through their transformations,
Very minorly.
Very minorly, but, we picked up on it. Like, the normal and Super Saiyan versions of them are very standard, energy blasty, kind of like template Dragon Ball Z. When they both went to Super Saiyan God, things got really interesting, a lot more hands-off. Goku specifically got to that full, like, I'm controlling
started doing, like, psychic judo.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. But, like, lasted for A, 2 minutes, and B, had no point aside from slowing the fight down.
Yeah, and then just it went all out with Blue.
All in all, what
would you say would be like your end all be all for this film? Final thesis, any things you would change?
Final thesis. I won't even go into what I want to change because it's such a long list.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I'd just be rewriting the movie. But as for what the film is, it's a high production episode of Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah.
If you are down for that, that's awesome. Good for you. You got it. It's really, really high production. You can just see where the money went. Mm-hmm. If you are not a Dragon Ball fan, if you are just coming into Dragon Ball and you're like, I want to see a cool animated film, there's a lot of other options.
You think this is a poor introduction to Dragon
I think
Ball?
this is not what I would show somebody who's like, I want to get into anime.
Actually, you know what? The more I think about that statement, the more I think you're right about it. Because I was thinking this might be a good introduction. Then I think about it. There's so much reverence to things that you should already know, quote unquote.
Yeah, despite the exposition, there's so much that isn't explained. Beerus shows up, and he's given no explanation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whis is there for the entire fight. No explanation.
Yeah.
Goku and Vegeta are taken for who they are.
Yeah.
You need to know who these characters are going in.
This is
the only person who is given character development is Frieza, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And he's the best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And only then, I think you'd only appreciate him if you knew the character before this.
Yeah. Because they just play on some expectations with the character.
Yeah. And then B is Broly, and he's underdeveloped. So like, see this if you're a fan. Please don't hate on me too hard, but it has problems.
No, and I concur.
And then if you're just getting into anime and for some reason listening to this podcast, hey, by the way, welcome.
Hello.
And B, I would start with something that's a bit more simple. And I don't mean that for example, Red Line is weird and out there, but it's about racing. At the end of the day, it's about racing, and it's so fucking simple because of that. This movie is way over everybody's heads, not in intelligence, but in just convoluted backlog.
And it's strange because
it feels like MGS4.
Yeah, whoa, that's a harsh comparison.
That's also another podcast.
We love Metal Gear Solid, by the way, but
I love MGS, but 4 is a beautiful train wreck.
What we've talked about before, what I've mentioned before in conversations about Dragon Ball is I've always thought, that Dragon Ball, as opposed to other fighting shonen series, is and despite the bombast, is about the people. It's about people who love to fight, not about fighting for fighting's sake.
Exactly.
Fighting for fighting's sake would be something like Baki. I don't know if you've ever seen that series, but Baki is more about the combat itself, the beauty in it, and what it can represent for certain people. Mm-hmm. And I feel like where I kind of characterize Dragon Ball as a little bit more character-focused fighting series, this was one of the least character-focused movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I had expectations, but I came in and I got what I expected. I got something that was very baseline, very simple, and very reliant on fan previous experiences, to fill in the blanks for the character writing, and basically just be a bombastic fight scene.
Yeah. And
I didn't realize I was in for 30 minutes of prologue and then 30 minutes of fighting with 30 minutes of middle film that is the only real story progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the beginning, long.
Oh my god.
The end.
If you are worried because you're late to your showing,
don't worry. Yeah.
Don't worry.
Big
it's like showing up after the trailers.
Exactly. Big ups to anybody
who shows
up late. You're fine. Don't worry. In fact,
get that popcorn. Get that soda.
Yeah.
Just sit down and you'll eventually see what you're trying to see.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the fighting is though the animation top notch though, fantastic. Yeah. Definitely if anybody is a Dragon Ball fan out there, huge recommendation to go check it out. This is definitely for you.
It is the best Dragon Ball.
It is the best Dragon Ball movie.
Aside from the live action one.
Exactly. Dragon Ball Evolution. Yeah.
I've stunned Brando.
Yeah.
He did not expect this. We've gone over everything we're going to talk about, and I just T-boned his thought process with this comment.
I'm all fucked up now. But in conclusion, I wanted to end it on positive though. So I would definitely recommend it for any Dragon Ball fan. Mm-hmm. Definitely would be for you guys. There's lots of fantastic fight choreography. There's some nice character moments too, like we mentioned with the mirror shot with Bulma and Frieza. That's clever and funny.
But within the fight, there's none.
Yeah, but within the fighting, which is a third of the film at least, 33%. And same thing with the prologue, which is a lot of information that you kind of already know with some new information about Broly. You're not going to get anything unpredictable when it comes to this film. Mm-hmm. You're getting a very standard Dragon Ball fanfare. Like you said, it's basically a very expensive episode, which is okay.
Hey, they made their money back. So
they made their money back. They're already good. So if you haven't seen it already, Toei's fine.
Yeah, Toei's fine.
Toei's fine.
No worries there.
But guys, thank you for listening. Please let us know what you guys think about the film. I know that a lot of you out there haven't gotten a chance to see it because they're making bank. And I want to know what we may have missed, what you either agree or disagree with our points. Let us know in the comments down below. Chris, do you have any media? Any Twitch or
not yet?
Or Twitter?
We're on the production phase of that stuff.
So it's all in the pipe.
I will be making my public debut soon.
So when those happen, it will be linked below somewhere where you can find Christopher House playing video games or doing other suspicious things on camera.
Jesus. Jesus Christ, man.
But as always, thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate it. But yeah, guys, that's all we've got for you today. So have a good day, have a good life. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next time.